I will use this opportunity to quickly review the car visually now. It's completely new car that is not even for sale yet. It may or may not be for sale by the time the video drops. I could not let myself lose the opportunity to come here and review new Lexus LX 600. Of course, this is the new platform and I'm going to talk about performance later. Let's check this car out visually first, what design choices they made and what style they used. An absolutely enormous grille. This is a signature Lexus look. Absolutely gigantic and aggressive grille. Sport version has a bit different grille, but nevertheless it looks really interesting too. In today's drive there will be no sport version since we are interested in diesel and gas version only. This particular vehicle is of VIP series, which means that it's top-notch, most expensive, model with tons of custom options and functions. And most importantly, it is super comfortable. We are going to talk about all of this as soon as we get to interior to see how comfortable and tasteful car really is. We absolutely loved materials the interior is made of, by the way. It is really good and we are going to check it out later. But right now I want to draw your attention to the look of the car. Those who love Lexus design and especially front of Lexus, this model must look absolutely great for them. But those who are more indifferent towards signature Lexus design might find this front too monstrous or abnormal. These over here are high beams, and low beams are just right above them. Let's talk about hood now. When I attended the presentation of this model, we were told that this dip right here is made to help see the road better. At first I was a bit suspicious, thinking that is too small of a dip, but it actually makes sense when you look at the road from inside, compared to a flat hood. To cut long story short, dip does look good and it does its job. That's it. The overall look of the hood is pretty similar to Toyota 300, because they obviously share the same platform. The difference is obviously based on price, since Lexus is considered to be a higher class vehicle. But nevertheless, these two share some parts, but visually, it's subtle details. Those who know a thing or two about these cars can easily spot a difference though. For example, the hood and rear windows. Overall, this car looks pretty aggressive. It has a hint of aggression in it. But the main direction of Lexus is more towards elegancy. And it obviously is more tilted toward elegant design of exterior compared to aggressive design. Talking about rims. Here we have 22-inch rims. Since this is a higher class model, rims are as big as they can get on this vehicle. Obviously the most expensive ones. The factory standard size is actually 20-inch. Talking about sides, we have a side steps, since it's a huge car, so it is easier to get inside of it. It's a fixed side step, so it doesn't move up and down. It stays in one place. And this is how we get inside of it. When I drew connection between Toyota, I mentioned the similarities in hood, because they do look alike. This part over here is also somewhat similar to Toyota. Everything else is totally different though. Only car enthusiasts will be able to spot similarities between these two. Let's talk about rear lights for a second. These are original Lexus type rear lights. The brand has its own signature rear lights that really makes it stand out, compared to other cars. The rear side is more round looking. It looks especially rounded when we open the truck. The only thing I didn't like about both diesel and gas models is the exhaustion pipe, which you can see right here, on the left side, on its own. It's kind of being hidden, but you obviously can see it from behind, either from rear car or from a standing angle. It's really visible from here and I don't like it. It could have been a little custom cap or something, in my opinion. Something on the top of it. Right now we are having a coffee break. We are not alone on this trip. There are other test drive participants here. They went to the church upstairs to check it out. And since we had some spare time, we decided to talk about design. Let's be honest. For me personally, interior is way more interesting than exterior. I absolutely love the interior. Those who will buy the exact model will love it too. We also have an opportunity to compare it to base model, which goes by the name Urban. Let's make a comparison and see what are the differences between those two. Right now we are going to change our location to more of an off-road type. Let's see the new road I'm not familiar with. We have our GPS set up. We follow the rest, and I'm sure we will not get lost. And when we will have a new coffee break, I will show you the interior of the car. This is one of these situations when you need to show the best part in the end because exterior of this car is pretty obvious to you. And soon after, these cars will be put on sale and you will be able to see them for yourself. We will try to translate to you all the novelty that LEXUS provided us with. Rest of the cars are coming. Everyone is driving at different speeds, but we have the same destination. And all of us are going to reach the point of destination in the end. Let's keep going. We finally got to our point of destination. Since we have some time on this location, let's pay attention to engine and let's talk about it a little bit. As I already mentioned, we have two cars on our disposal. One is a diesel and second is a gas. Let's check our gas one. Oops, as you see, we managed to get it dirty from inside too. Hope no one will notice it. We are going to cover it afterwards. So, here we have a V-type engine with 3.5-liter engine. It has 415 horsepower and 615 Nm of torque. This is more than enough power to support this SUV, especially on off-road conditions. We've been driving for a couple of hours on bad road and the car didn't have any problems. I mean, we had a pretty comfortable ride and car showed itself pretty good. Maybe it is because the car has 10-speed transmission, and as all recent car manufacturers, they try to make this model as light as possible. They used lots of aluminum and made a roof from aluminum too. Most of people are used to see V8 type of engine in this kind of big cars, but this model has V6 type of engine and it doesn't mean that car lost either horsepower or torque. This 3.5-liter V6 engine has two turbochargers attached to it which makes it a twin-turbo. Let's talk about diesel engine now. It is 3.3 liters twin-turbo and it has 700 Nm of torque, which is obviously more. The gas one has 415 horsepower, the diesel one 299. It is really hard to find downsides in new cars compared to older cars. After 4 or 5 years, all weaknesses begin to show, and it becomes easier to talk about them. There is almost no information about them on YouTube. Let's talk about suspension system. We tested it on the off-road. It is an adaptive suspension system. It is adjustable. We raised it when we were crossing the river, we used different off-road modes, and everything seemed to work really good. I wouldn't say that the road conditions we met were extremely terrible, but we tried to choose the hardest roads possible to test cars' abilities. Sport mode works just fine. You can also choose Sport Plus mode, which makes steering wheel act more sturdy, and the car acts significantly more sporty compared to Comfort or normal mode. It has a bunch of different modes, and I really appreciate the amount of different off-road modes because it is generally considered that people don't use them. And we might rarely encounter multiple off-road modes in modern cars since all-wheel drive is automatically switching between them. Let's make clear that 4x4 and all-wheel drive are two different things. 4x4 gives you opportunity to choose between particular modes, and all-wheel drive is fully automated. I think I explained it properly, but I might go into details further down the road. It has an axle tube in the rear and independent suspension in the front. I think I managed to explain everything properly for now, but we are not reviewing interior yet because I want to talk about it in the last place. Let's talk about the brakes. I can't say that we raced on the asphalt and pushed the brakes multiple times to see how it stops, but considering the roads that we tested it on, brakes did a pretty good job on gravel road. I guess we should close the hood so that no one sees what we did to the engine. I'm kidding, of course. Let's have a little break, after which our tour is continuing and we have plenty of time to discuss details that we might like or dislike. We had some rest, a lunch, and we are on the way to a hotel. We are on a smooth road right now, which means that we are able to calmly talk about the interior. Let me remind you that manufacturing of this model began in 2022, and as I was told by an insider, the car is still in the process of improvement, which means that some of the features might be improved. Even the interior itself. In other words, these are test cars, and testing is being held in Georgia. Foreigners are already here, test driving this model. It is actually a pretty good tour involving off-roads and normal roads as well. And one more test drive is ahead of us. Now let's talk about our car. It's a VIP model. Let's start with the center console, because I loved it the most. Console should really stand out in a car to act as a sign of comfort, and in this case I loved it the most. It is pretty huge in size. You can freely rest your hands on the side, both the driver and the passenger, so your hands won't accidentally touch if you want to avoid an unwanted love affair, which is pretty good. I also would like to mention the color of the interior. I like this color a lot. Lately I'm frequently mentioning that the same old black interior is pretty boring. I prefer lighter shades. I used to be into black interiors a lot, but the darkness is pretty mundane for me. This color goes really well with black. I really love this two-color combination. It has a much pricier look, and overall interior does look pricey as well. Let's get back to the console now. Our GPS is located on the main screen. It helps us to get to the point of destination properly and in time. Right below it, we can see a climate control of the car. That's how we change it from here. We can change the direction using touch screen. There are really many options. These buttons over here can do all these functions on the touch screen. I mean the temperature control. This is pretty standard, and I'm not going to waste our time on going into details. All cars have similar controls. Now, the main advantage of wide center console. Compartments are perfectly spaced, as well as cup holders. It is really comfortable. Here's a little platform, and of course, I don't know about you, but number one thing I am getting out of my pocket is a mobile phone. I have it plugged in right now, but trust me, it fits perfectly. Here we have one more compartment, which we can use for phone or something else. A Type-C plug for the charger. I have plugged mine over here. Car seat temperature control and gear selector. The only thing I would change in this car, if I was asked by Lexus what are my personal preferences, is the gear selector. Let me tell you why. The whole console is so pretty that this huge, robust lever is really covering the view. I would get rid of it and install buttons instead of it. I would also like to talk about start-stop. That's where we ignite the car from. It looks like an ordinary start-stop from the first sight, but we can have it on fingerprint mode. Using this feature makes it impossible for someone else except you to ignite the engine. Even though car theft is not an occurrence in our country, but still. In case your child wants to drive your car without permission, the fingerprint system will prevent it from happening. I would register my finger though. I hope I don't lose my finger. Otherwise I won't be able to start it myself. It's not exclusively for one driver. You can register many other drivers who you trust blindly, so they also are able to start the car. Tomorrow we are testing a base model, Urban. We might see a different, not so cool interior in it, but we will still compare them in details for you. Let's talk about steering wheel. Steering wheel left pretty good impression on me. It actually even affected my mood. Because it really feels like I'm driving a sport car. Metal shifters on both sides. These are the controls. It has a different shape, and I loved it a lot. The size is perfect. I can wrap my fingers around it just right and switch controls with one of my fingers. The shape is pretty fine. I absolutely love wooden ornaments here. Some cars have wooden design, some metal, and I absolutely love this particular design. Now let's get to the dashboard. It is digital, in the middle, and has analog indicators on the side. And it switches colors when we switch modes. I'm going to switch mode right now. This is Sport, and this is Sport Plus. I love the resolution, and I absolutely love when design is changed as we change the mode. That's my kind of stuff. Since this is a VIP model, we have two more seats in the back. They look very pretty. But here is the case. If you buy a car for yourself and you're going to drive it, all of this stops making sense. If you are sitting in the back, you can adjust the seats, take a nap, control climate from dedicated dashboard. You can have your own monitor. You are definitely going to feel like a king. But this only is the case when the car is serving you. You hire a driver and enjoy sitting in the back. If you are buying this car for yourself or for your family and you are the driver, then in this case it is not so good, because you lack the space. This car can accommodate only 4 persons. As for the urban series, they have much more space available. It can accommodate more people and has extra space for the driver too. Also, a big advantage of spacious cars is this. We have a fridge installed here. This is so cool. Of course, lots of cars have it, especially big cars. But I think that a fridge in the car is a huge advantage, especially when it's hot outside and you want to cool yourself down with some fizzy drink. In our case, it's Hell Energy. You can absolutely use the fridge, cool down your water or energy drink, and there you go. That's why, props to the fridge. It can be opened from passenger side as well as from drivers. Let's talk about some SUV stuff. I think this is the most important topic. I already mentioned different modes. We can choose modes from right over here. Here we have a central lock. We can change the height of suspension from here. In case of a bumpy road, we can raise the car by pushing a dedicated button not to damage the car. This car has an adaptive suspension system, as I mentioned before. If some modes require automatic race, it is already built in the setting, after you choose it. And if we just want to raise the suspension without choosing a particular mode, we can do it by simply pushing this button over here. In the end, I would like to talk about driving comfort. I feel exceptionally comfortable while driving this car. I get this feeling because of the surroundings in the first place. It feels like a luxurious room, like a perfect working desk. That is a great feeling. The only thing I personally don't like is the feeling of rocking from side to side. It is not so obvious for such big car, but I still can feel it. Some people may like it, but not me personally. I prefer stiffer cars that are ready for an instant maneuver. Big SUVs are not built for maneuvers, but people like me who are into sport cars and speed prefer much stiffer suspension. This car is somewhere in between. Driving this car may not feel like driving a sport car. It feels more like what it actually is, an SUV. So it rocks back and forth accordingly. I want to mention LEXUS F Sport version. I have not driven it yet and I'm not sure. It may be totally different in terms of driving feel. So I won't talk about something that I have no idea about, and I will continue to review this very model I'm driving now. As you can see, it is already nighttime, which means that we reached our hotel. Cars are squeaky clean. Tomorrow we are driving a second car, a base model in particular. All we need to do now is have some well-deserved rest, because we have a test drive tomorrow around 8 in the morning. I'm going to find out the exact time before I go to bed. I don't know any details about the route, but it's a good thing for me, because there is a higher probability of an unexpected surprise. There will be a constant change in the terrain for sure. This is our last location for today. We are going back to Tbilisi from here. I'm here for the first time and I absolutely love this place. It's snowing out here, as you can see. Even though the interior is of different color, it is black. I find no major differences, which I really like because even if you buy this cheaper version, you still will feel great inside. Major differences are first of all seats. They have no logo imprinted on them and the stitches on the console follow different pattern. There is a difference in design. It is not black by default, you are able to choose from a variety of colors. And it is totally up to you which color you decide to pick. It has a standard set of seats behind, which means that more than 4 people can sit in this car. This is more family-friendly, standard design to which we are so used to. We just finished our 2-day tour. I'm not entirely sure how long this video is going to be, but I can definitely assure you that we have been driving these cars on gravel and other types of different terrain for 2 full days. We were a part of team number 7. Total amount of teams is 8, which means that 1 more team is supposed to test drive. I honestly didn't know that we would have to drive for 2 days in such wilderness. So let me remind you that these cars are being tested for 8 days, which makes it a pretty rough test drive, in my opinion. We can sum up our opinions about this car. You can see all cars in front of you. I will say that the interior really left quite an impression on me. It is pretty acceptable in 2022. Really good looking and comfortable. As for the appearance, there are lots of different colors and you can pick any color you like. But still, black is my go-to, because black is much more aggressive and elegant on this car. But this is my personal opinion. Maybe because I'm Georgian and black SUVs here point to an important status in pair with tinted windows. This car does make you the boss. I personally think that those people who have money to buy this car will almost never drive it on the kinds of roads that we drove them on in these 2 days. I guess you will almost never have to drive this car on such rough terrain, even if you drive them for 3 or 4 years, which means that it is going to last you much longer. It's a simple math. Plus, LEXUS is famous for its longevity. It's the time to say goodbye. This was not so rough test drive, but let's be honest, for us it was pretty rough. Subscribe to our channel, leave a comment, and of course we are going to release new videos, so stay tuned. Goodbye.